Hi, this is Bo from Bo to Fitness, and in today's video we're talking about meal prepping hacks and tips that make healthy eating easy, yummy, and affordable. This is task 16, by the way, if you're following along in our meal plan challenge. And so if you are at this point here, you should have already lots of foods and meals prepared, and or not necessarily just prepared, but you've got an idea of what kinds of meals you want to be consuming. And now we want to kind of be looking at some tips and tricks as far as how you're going about preparing those meals to make the whole process easier, more tasteful, and obviously affordable, right? These are going to be the three factors that are going to really be important to make your diet sustainable. We need to have convenience, we need to have taste, and cost be appropriate for our lifestyle so that we can stick to this thing long term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go through each column here one at a time so we can kind of just hammer these off. This is not necessarily a comprehensive list, but it's at least some of the things that I know I think about when trying to prepare meals that have been helpful for me, and I just want to share those with you guys. So let's start off with the easy column. Let's make this easy. So when it comes to trying to make meal prep easy, there's a lot of little tips and tricks and things you can do to help with that whole process. So one of the first things to do, I think, is when you are making meals, maybe when you're first starting off, you want to make 2 or 3 meals. But what I found is that it's just easier for me to make a bunch of meals all at once, and then it saves me like a whole bunch of prep time during the rest of the month. So if I can make 15 to 20 meals in a couple hours on like a Sunday evening or a Saturday afternoon or something, and that's going to save me hours and hours of preparing meals through the rest of the week, then it is well worth that couple hours for me. So I like to prepare when I'm going to make my meals. I like to make 15 to 20 meals minimum at a time, sometimes as many as 30 meals. And another little trick or tip that I found is that I found I used to take up a ton of space in my freezer to try to store all those containers, because most of the meals I'd be prepping were either dry or were stored in the freezer. And I eventually started putting 2 servings per container, and that started saving me like so much space, because now I was making up to 30 meals and it'd only take me 15 containers. And it also helped me because I realized a lot of times when I would take out that container, I would only eat maybe half of it, and then I would be kind of full, and then I just put that container back in the fridge, and then later I'd come back and warm it up again or just eat the rest cold. And it made me realize that I don't need to have every day, every single meal be different. Having a repeat meal actually makes it a lot easier to stick to my diet, because I'm not having to think about preparing 5 different meals or even 4 different meals, but maybe 2 or 3 meals, and the other 2 are just the same thing. So this is a trick and tip that a lot of bodybuilders and figure competitors follow as well, as just keeping it simple and sticking every day to at least 1 or 2 of their meals that are the same thing almost every day, and then they're having a little bit of variety in some of the other meals that they're eating. So when I prep, this seems like a funny little thing, but what I like to do is, because sometimes cooking meals can be bulk prepping them, it feels like it takes up a chunk of your time. So I like to make it something where I'm enjoying myself when I do it. So there's a couple things that I will do. One is I might put on a movie to watch while I'm doing it. So while I'm in the kitchen, I can kind of be watching the movie while I'm cooking things up. And sometimes I am able to get others involved, and that's kind of fun too. So I'll get my daughter Tirza or Casey helping me out, and so Tirza will go ahead and she'll put a little bit of veggies in each container, and then she'll help me put the proteins in there and get them in on that whole process of healthy eating and prepping, so that can become something that they can do down the road. But it can also be something that you can get a spouse, someone who might be on a trying to meal prep with you. It could just be a friend, and the 2 of you are getting together and say, hey, let's I've done this before. I remember Clayton and I, a number of years ago, while prepping for a show, we went over to at the same house there, and we just started prepping up meals together, and it was kind of fun to do that with another person, and we could kind of split the ingredients too. So you might be able to save a little bit of money, where you say, hey, if you're able to get this product here, whether it be frozen vegetables, and I'll get the proteins, and then you bring those things together and you can meal prep together. So that's kind of fun to do too. This kind of goes along with easy and with affordable, and that has to do with purchasing frozen produce and fruits versus fresh. A lot of times you save a lot of money, especially when it comes to things like berries and mixed vegetables and things like that. Fresh produce is great, don't get me wrong, but again, if you're trying to save a little bit of money and speed things up. A lot of times the advantage with fresh is that the things are already chopped up and ready to just be portioned out, whereas when you're, and it's oftentimes much cheaper, whereas when you're buying fresh, a lot of times one of the, discouraging things about it is it just takes so much time chopping and cutting things up that you might, be less inclined to, want to prepare meals in the first place. So if you enjoy chopping things and you really want that fresh taste, then by all means, get fresh. And when you do get fresh, try to buy in bulk. So I'll buy, big bulk bags of pre-cut broccoli. I buy broccoli especially in bulk because I find that when I buy the frozen bags that I'm going to get all the stems and I want the little flowerets at the top. So I'll buy like the big bulk bags. Same thing with like cauliflower, things like that. And that can I like the fact that they're already kind of pre-chopped a little bit, so it doesn't take a lot of work for me to have to, cut that up. Another little tip is I like to buy proteins pre-cooked or prepared. So again, it saves me a little bit of time when I'm in the kitchen, so I don't have to necessarily cook those up. Not to say it's a huge, deal. Many times you can buy packages of chicken or turkey or whatever, and you can throw that in the crock pot with a little bit of seasonings, and you can just kind of let that cook and simmer while you're working on other, veggies and things like that. And that's totally fine. Using things like crock pot, air fryer, rice cooker to cook up, your rice, get that all cooking. So everything around the kitchen is all kind of going at the same time. And so that way you're keeping busy the whole time. So, as soon as you get the rice going, that starts cooking. You go ahead and you start working on the next thing. And you're getting everything all set up so that you can just serve out and put everything in all your containers all at once and try to get the whole process going as quick as possible. But again, if you buy your, let's say a cooked rotisserie chicken, or if you're doing plant-based and you get bags of pre-cooked and seasoned tofu, it's easy to just take those out, cut them up, and portion them into each container, and it saves you a ton of time. And oftentimes they're already seasoned and whatnot, so it tastes really good. Looking for pre-cut veggies. This one I kind of already alluded to, but sometimes just having those shortcuts where you have bag salads or pre-cut veggie packs and things like this, while they sometimes can cost a little bit more, they do certainly speed up the whole process, and that helps in the easy column. Another suggestion is meal prep ideas on YouTube. So YouTube is loaded with all sorts of meal prep tips and tricks. This is obviously one of them, but there are tons of other video channels that have recipes and ideas that are very creative. And so I'd encourage you, do a little scanning through YouTube and find some ideas that might be, helpful for you. Another thing to speed things up is weigh one ingredient at a time. I used to try to literally take a container and I'd scoop out some rice, then I'd scoop out some broccoli, and then I'd scoop out the potato, and it was taking me forever because I'd have to weigh each thing on the food scale. Now what I do is I tend to zero out the container on the scale, and then I can just go ahead and put container after container after container on and just keep putting in the veggies, and do that in every single container. And then when it's done, do the same thing with my proteins and with my starches so that they're all balanced out, and it saves me a ton of time when I do it that way. And I talked about this in one of the other videos that you might have watched earlier. Let's see. Overnight oats. So some of the things you can do by just preparing things the night before, that will save you in the morning when you're getting up to go. You have something already all set to go. Big one is that really speeds things up is, just start by first. I know my kitchen sometimes gets really cluttered. So sometimes before I do anything, I just clear off the counters, clear everything out. So one, it's less stressful. A lot of times you're just going to eat healthier and prepare things more efficiently if you just take a little time beforehand, just make sure everything's nice and cleared and free of clutter, so that you are also kind of enjoying yourself and not stressed out while you're trying to meal prep. Write down a meal plan and grocery list in advance so that when you go to the store, you're able to just go right through and you're not sort of trying to make up these meals on the fly. Literally know exactly what you're looking for, so you're going to be more efficient. You go in and you're like, I'm going to get this many heads of cauliflower, I'm going to get this much broccoli, I'm going to get my stir fry sauce, I'm going to get this, many bags of potatoes, so that when you come back, you got everything you need and you're not, in the middle of trying to prep this, and then you realize, oh shoot, I don't have half the protein that I need, and so I got a bunch of containers that are half loaded, but I don't have enough protein to cover the whole thing. So you want to make sure you have everything you're going to need when you go to prepare those. And then another thing is, don't forget to save the meals that you create on MyFitnessPal as a recipe, so that in the future when you go to prep these meals again, you know exactly what the recipe is. You know how many grams of, you know, whatever it is, your protein, your veggies, your starches, so that it makes it so that it's very easy to just, you know, copy that and repeat that meal again in the future if you know, desire. I like to, one thing with the yummy column is I like to alternate month to month and change up whatever, you know, if I make 30 meals for, you know, May, then oftentimes in June I want to change up that meal a little bit. So I might, you know, maybe one month I was doing, you know, chicken, and the next month I might do turkey. It's not that you can't make up lots of different meals, but I just, again, like to keep it kind of simple and just stick with, you know, one kind of meal each, you know, time I prep, and make everything the same rather than trying to make a ton of variety, because it just takes so much time. Some little tips and tricks for making snacks and meals really yummy. There are tons of, remember, there are tons of spices and seasonings and things that you can add to your meals to really boost them up and give those vegetables and starches and things a lot of flavor. So remember, thinking about the spice cupboard, but then think about things like vinegar, honey mustard, barbecue sauce, that, again, get the low-cal ones. I like stir-fry sauce on my veggies to season them a little bit. So I store my veggies in my containers raw, because I find that if I pre-cook the veggies and then when I go to warm them up again after they're frozen, they're just all mushy. So I want nice crisp green veggies. So I tend to put my veggies in my containers raw. I'll put a little stir-fry sauce over the top, and then I'll freeze that in the freezer. And then when I warm it up, the veggies are nice and crispy and flavorful. Let's see, powdered peanut butter. I love to slice up apples and put them in a baggie, and then pour in some powdered peanut butter to reduce the fat and boost the protein. And then I'll just kind of shake up that bag, and now I have a big bag of apples with powdered peanut butter that are really yummy without all the fat. And we'll sometimes do the same thing with like cinnamon. I might put a little erythritol and cinnamon in a bag with sliced apples and shake that up, and I have some really cool healthy snacks that I can snack on during the day. Let's see, fresh veggies stored raw, not pre-cooked, which I kind of already touched on. Shirataki noodles, low carb noodles. These are great. They come already all prepackaged. But when I sort of saute them, I'll put a little garlic powder and black pepper in there to make low carb noodles. And these are really, really yummy pasta alternative. And you can do the same thing with rice. They have this sort of like a shirataki rice that is very low. It's like low carb rice that's really yummy. Protein Jello squares are really yummy, so you can take Jello and add to it your essential amino acids. You can get different flavored ones, and by adding them in with your Jello mix and then making Jello cubes, you can make these high protein Jello cubes that are great snacks to grab. You know, if you have a craving for something sweet, you can grab one of those Jello cubes and use that as a substitute, so you don't, you know, grab the junk. Frozen smoothie bags. Make up either frozen, or so when you buy all your frozen fruits and things, go ahead and make up like 15 to 20 baggies where you put your frozen cherries, your blueberries, your raspberries, put in some flaxseed, some chia seed, and, you know, put those frozen ingredients all in little individual baggies. So now when you go to make your smoothie, you're not like, you know, getting out measuring cups and trying to figure this stuff all out on the go. Just make up 15 to 20 baggies that can all go in the freezer. And then when you go to make your smoothie, all you got to do is dump that baggie right into the blender. And I found that if you put your protein powder and powdered ingredients in with your frozen fruit, it gets like solid and thick and it clogs up your blender. So what I like to do is either add that separately, like using the scoop, or what I'll do is get like a little tiny baggie, put the powder in the little baggie, and then put that baggie in with the frozen berries, and so it stays dry, and then I can pop that in the freezer and it's fine. So now I'm opening up, you know, that little baggie when I go to, you know, dump it into the smoothie. But, you know, honestly, I oftentimes just keep the jug right by the blender so I can dump in my frozen stuff there, and I got my flax seeds and chia seeds, and then I can just go ahead and add in my protein powder or my meal replacement powder to my shake. You can also make dry smoothie baggies. So you can take, you know, if you're making like, you want to make like chia seed, flax seed, protein powder, maybe some dried cranberries, some soy nuts, or whatever, you know, sunflower seeds, whatever your blends are that you're making for your meal, you can then take those little baggies, store them in the fridge so they stay cool but dry, and those little baggies can be dumped into your smoothies to make you know, really good quick smoothies. But they can also be great to add into your overnight oats or high protein oats. So you can take your rolled oats, and you'll save a lot of money too, and make your own high protein oats. So you add in your baggie your oats, maybe some oat bran, chia seeds, flax seeds, grind them up first beforehand, maybe some raisins, a little cinnamon, protein powder, zip those things shut, make up 20 to 30 of those things, and again, store them in the fridge so the ingredients like the flaxseed and things stay fresh. And then now all you gotta do is dump that into a little container or pour it into your overnight oats container and then add some, hot water. You can make homemade chia pudding with cocoa powder and chia seeds that are soaked. It's a really yummy pudding. Veggie pastas. This Better Than Bacon Parma seasoning. I love this stuff. It's sort of almost like a cheese substitute, but it's vegetarian based, and it's got like nutritional yeast and sunflower seeds, and it has like this cheddar bacon flavor. I'll put it on like egg whites. I'll put it on popcorn. I put it on pasta. I put it on so many salads. It's just like one of my favorite go-to seasonings. It helps me to take meals that are low fat and really spice them up and give them some flavor so that I really feel like I'm having a treat without adding a lot of calories. And that's, again, called Better Than Bacon by the company Parma, P-A-R-M-A. English muffin pizzas, I love to make these as an alternative to pizza, and they're super fast and easy to make. So I'll cook up a bunch of veggies on the stove, broccoli and mushrooms and peppers and things like that, and then I'll just go ahead and I'll toast the English muffins right in the toaster. And rather than using cheese, I'll spread like maybe a little non-dairy cream cheese, garlic powder, oregano, top it with sauce, and then roasted veggies on top, and I can make these really big, filling, yummy pizzas. Soups are, remember, some not only really tasty, but some of the most filling, satisfying, and healthy meals you can make. And they're great for coming into easy and yummy when you can repurpose things. So if you have veggies or things left over, you can oftentimes toss them into a pan from any type of meal that you have anything left over, and adding in some stock and some other veggies and proteins, and you can make some really yummy soups that can be then put in mason jars to go in your fridge that can just be warmed up later in the week for a quick meal. Another little tip for salads is when you're making salads, if you are making your own salads and storing them, rather than putting the dressing on, you could get the little containers and store your salad dressing separate. But one little trick is to put your salad dressing at the bottom of the container and then put your salad on top. So then when you go to eat it, you're gonna mix it in, and that helps keep your salads from getting all soggy, because you pour that dressing all over the top and then the salads will start to get mushy and can get kind of nasty. So one little trick is just to put your salad dressing on the top, on the bottom, and then put your salads over the top and then seal them. Affordable. Some quick tips here, because I don't want to make this video too long. Buy in bulk, kind of common sense, right? Buy in bulk whenever you can, especially when you're buying like frozen vegetables and dry things like flax seeds, chia seeds, oats. You save a lot of money per pound by buying these things in bulk. Using reusable containers, you're going to save a lot of money there. I'm guilty of this one a lot, whereas I like the plastic containers because I can just put them all out real quick and I don't want to have to wash them out. But honestly, you're going to save a lot of money if you can get some nice glass containers that you can reuse and reheat. Not to mention, it's a lot safer to cook in those things. You're not getting all the chemicals and things leaching into your food. Some things that are, foods that people don't think of to eat, to add to their meal plans, that are really cheap and really filling and satisfying, and this ends up saving a lot of money, are things like bags of sweet corn, beans that are, canned beans, potatoes, oats. These are foods that people a lot of times don't think of as weight loss foods, and these are great weight loss foods. They're very, very filling, very high in fiber, and remember, if you're full, you end up eating less, and when you eat less, you spend less money, right? Remember, part of where we get in trouble with cheap food is it doesn't fill us up. So we buy more of it and we eat it and we're still not hungry or full. So we buy more and we keep eating and we keep eating and we keep snacking, and you don't realize that, well, yes, it's cheap when you buy that one little candy bar and you buy that bag of Doritos or that bag of cookies. The problem is you're buying so much cheap food that you end up spending more than if you were to just buy a little bit more expensive, healthy food, and you're just so full and satisfied that you're not eating as much, and subsequently not only losing weight and getting healthy, but you're spending less money overall. The other thing is, just context-wise, is think that if you are healthy, you're eating in such a way that you're losing weight, you're feeling good, your energy levels are better. The costs of being sick, the cost of healthcare, and the cost on your mood and energy levels is so expensive. Not just from the money you're spending on healthcare, but just think about how much energy you waste when you just feel awful, and how much nicer it is to feel good and not have a bad mood from eating junk. Those costs, I don't know how you can even calculate them to compare. There was a New York Times article, I think it was entitled "The High Cost of Cheap Food," and they're really sort of just making this association between eating lots of junk and how much it ends up costing you in other ways. So last couple things here. Repurpose ingredients, which we kind of already touched on. Soups, stews, and chilies are some of the best meals because you make them up in a big crock pot, put them all out in mason jars, screw on a lid, and then throw them in the fridge, and you got 10 to 15 to 20 meals right there that are just super filling, super satisfying, and easy to just warm up. Foil dinners are great too, so you can take up your potatoes, your carrots, your meat, and whatever it is, and just put it in, wrap it in foil, and then you can either freeze them or put them in the fridge, and then all you got to do is put that thing on a cookie sheet in the oven and warm that thing up, and then you open that thing up and you got a really yummy meal. A raw meal is a meal replacement shake that I really like. It comes from the company Garden of Life, and you can just kind of put a couple scoops in with some almond milk, some frozen cherries and bananas, and you got a quick instant meal that tastes really good. That saves you a lot of money. It comes out to be, I think, less than almost $1 per serving, something like that. And then finally, protein bars or whole food bars can be great quick snacks if you're really careful and selective to make sure you select a good one. I'm going to be having another whole video coming out here as to what is the best protein bar to get. So be looking for that video where I'm going to go into some of the things that I look for if I'm going to be buying a protein bar. Why do I even eat a protein bar, and what are the best protein bars out there that would really be worth spending your money on. You can also save some money by making your own homemade protein bars at home, and the internet is loaded with recipes that are really creative and really yummy that you can again save some money by making some of your own at home. So anyways, I hope this my rant here, I know I went really fast, was helpful, and that at least gave you a few ideas when it comes to meal prepping hacks and tips that can make healthy eating easy, yummy, and affordable. And I will see you guys in the next video.